You're listening to Story Struck. I'm Rachel, an editor and writing coach.
And I'm Nino, a ghostwriter and book coach. Welcome to our curious community where we dive into everything books and writing.
Now, let's get into the episode.
Hello and welcome. Today we're talking about something that I think is really important, especially for new or unpublished authors to watch out for is publishing scams. I had a situation that inspired this episode. A friend of mine reached out and was confused about a situation. She had somebody who came to her and said, "Hey, I saw that you've written this book." It was a self-published book. And she's like, "So I actually get other authors together and we all write a chapter and publish it. And then people go to your thing and it's all this wisdom of all of these women who do all of these things, blah, blah, blah. And you just have to pay $500 to be in this book." And she's like, "I don't know, like it could be a good marketing thing for me to do because I have my other book out and da da da." I'm like, wait a second, let's do the math here. First off, this woman is saying that she publishes these collections. She's getting $500 per person. Some of these books have 32 women who paid her $500, and guess where they're being published? Amazon KDP. I looked it up and I'm like, this sounds weird. We're doing some research. Did some research. She's only publishing on Amazon KDP. It's fully self-published. It costs her very little to do this. And we were estimating some of the books that we looked at that she did had made her $20,000 by doing these things. And so all these women are putting these things out there and paying this woman so much money. This woman was making bank off of these women who are just trying to get their work out there and published more and stuff. I'm like, this is so shady. This is such a scam. And she's like, "Well, I'm so glad I have you in my life because otherwise I wouldn't have known." So today we're talking about little red flags that you need to look out for when you want to publish your work. So, Rachel, did you have anything in your experience that you were like, this is so scammy and sleazy and this is
Yeah, so actually, I ran into that in my ghostwriting days. And I worked as a ghostwriter for Forbes freelance and got to see like kind of behind the scenes of how they worked it. And then I had a company reach out to me and was like, "Hey, we would love to hire you to be a staff ghostwriter." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Like, this is a company, like, they published all these books. Like, I checked them out. Like, something I always want to look for, right, is have they published books? How many books have they published? What do the covers look like? Are the covers like total, like, trash? Like, oh my God, I could have made this better in Canva kind of cover? Because that, right, that does say to the quality intention they're putting into it. I wanted to look at like book reviews, different things like that to see the type of work that they were putting out. And they were like, "Oh, well, we're newer, this and that." And I was like, "Okay, well, I met with multiple team members and I'm like, oh, like this seems pretty good, pretty legit." Then I got into it and I realized that they were just straight up lying to the customers. So they were like, "We've published like over, I don't know, I'll go with conservative number, 50 books." I think they said a larger number than that. Well, then once I worked for them, I realized that that wasn't the number of books they had published. That was the cumulative total of books that the ghostwriters who worked for them had written not while they were employees of this company.
wow.
Yeah. And so it was just like, "Oh my goodness, you don't have this experience." And there was more and more things that just rang some huge red bells. The amount of money they were charging people for what I knew was going on behind the scenes. And for things like that, I was there for less than 2 weeks. And I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. I like took them off of my LinkedIn. I was like blocked everybody there. I'm like, I want nothing to do with any of it because it rubbed me the wrong way in every single way. So I think that's something too, like looking at these ghostwriting things or co-authoring with these books, you want to take a look, like Nino said, where are they publishing these books? We want to look at what do the covers look like? What is the royalty situation? If we're just paying to play with like some of these co-authoring things, that just seems a little suspect. Like usually like you get something out of it. Like maybe we're gonna like maybe like Nino, right? Like maybe we would co-author a book and we're like, all right, well, we're gonna split the costs of publishing this book. And then we're also going to split our royalties. And maybe like, cause I know Nino, I'd be like, okay, like I know you, I trust you. But if this is just some Joe Schmo I've just met, they may just be taking my money that we're sharing the cost of and like not putting it towards what it needs to go towards.
Right.
Anytime you're entering
Because
a
if
partnership, you gotta be careful.
yeah, and this woman was pumping out books left and right on Amazon KDP because she can do so for such a cheap amount. And all she has to do is talk to every single female entrepreneur she knows or she can find on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm publishing this book, which is an anthology of advice from all these successful women. And you seem like such a successful woman. Would you like to be in it? It costs this amount. And they're like, well, it's a great marketing opportunity. And then they do it. And then nothing happens because she's not marketing the books. She's literally publishing them so that way she's like, well, I published it. So she's got what is it? Like she's just not liable for the lack of return that the people get and stuff. But then she's making bank off of these people who just don't know. Cause that's the thing. Sometimes, you know, with these industries, right? I find publishing to be so gate kept. Like it's such an industry where it's just like there's so much that goes under the radar of like all the little nitty-gritty details on like how you get published, you know? And it's annoying because then ignorance breeds the space for people to get taken advantage of. And like there's so many things. I don't know, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of it. There's so many things with like even like the traditional publishing space that's just like why you got to be so shady? Like why you got to be doing that? Like the thing we were talking about the other day with the book size change from the mass market paperbacks to the standard paperbacks now, and the actual shift that has caused for them. But then they're not giving the authors any more money, but they're saving
Yeah.
so much money, or like it's a whole thing. So
So yeah, I think this is great, like to kind of talk about
that was my
like right with publishers and agents. Like I think publishers is a great one to start with, and then we'll dive into agents. There's a
Mhm.
lot of scams going on right now with people impersonating big publishing houses and reaching out to authors and saying, "Hey, I'm from Simon and Schuster. We absolutely loved your book. We would love to publish your book and send us your full manuscript or you give us this money, we'll help you out." So you may think if they're asking money, that may set off some flags, and it should, because you never pay a publisher to publish your book. The publisher is going to pay you when your book sells. But some people are falling for the send me your full manuscript from the publisher.
right, and like
Publishers,
with
yeah.
with the publisher, like with like traditional publishers, because like obviously if you're doing a
Mhm.
hybrid publisher, you're gonna pay the hybrid publisher, which is a whole nother topic that we're gonna discuss in a little bit. Yeah, for a trad publisher, if you're like wanting to go to a traditional or even independent publisher, you're never going to pay them up front.
You never are going to pay your publisher a dime, right? Unless you are going with a hybrid publisher who you are literally paying to publish your book, but you know that going in because you sought them out to help you navigate stuff.
Yes.
But anyway, a publisher also, like Simon and Schuster, they're not necessarily going to be out there trolling Amazon and all these places for these small books, and they aren't taking books unsolicited. Books are given to them by agents. So if you have a random publisher saying they're reaching out to you I would then go directly to that publisher's website, get their actual direct information, and contact them yourself so you can verify, was this actually the publisher or just someone pretending to be the publisher? So that is crucial. Then we get into agents. And agents may potentially solicit you for information or for if they saw your book. But again, you want to verify, are they a real, legit agent? Like, that is so key. Who are they representing? What books have their authors written? Contact one of those authors and say, hey, I heard from this person, and be like, whoa, wait, that's not my agent. I don't know who that is. Contact them, reach out before you send even an agent anything if the agent contacts you unsolicited. And never, ever, ever pay money to an agent. Right, Nino?
Right. They make their money from the book sales, from the book being sold and at auction and all that jazz. Like that's where they make their money. Just like I was going to say an example and then I forgot an example. What's an example of another industry that does that?
Like, I think music too, right? Music,
Yeah,
your
like
agent
they get
represents you,
yeah.
and then you get
Right.
royalties. They
Right.
like,
I
yeah.
guess it works for any of the arts. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
So
So,
yeah, so
you book that
agents,
movie
yeah.
and your agent gets 10% of your salary in the movie.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, like movie stars too, right? Your agent represents you. The agent is the middleman in all of the arts between the artist and like the bigwig publishing house company, film company, whoever it is. And so your agent only makes money if you make money. So that is why an agent is going to be like your like awesome partner in crime because they want you to make money because the more money you make, the more money they make. And it should never be a pay to play situation to have an agent. So, right, we want to make sure agent's not asking us for money. And if it is a unsolicited person asking for your manuscript saying they're an agent, you want to triple, quadruple check that that is an actual agent because people have sent manuscripts and then had their books published under someone else's name. Yeah.
Nightmare fuel.
Yeah. And
Oh
typically,
my
right,
god,
they
and
will prey
especially with
on newer
AI now,
authors. Yes.
especially with
Yeah.
the AI now, they could just take somebody's book and just like, "I'm almost gonna change some names in the AI."
Well, even AI too in the emails that we're getting, because they can use AI to comb through so much data and make it sound almost like they know you, but they've just gone through all of this data, like super like boom with AI, and then they're popping that in an email. So if something also is over the top, glowing, flowery, beautiful, that also could be a red flag because I'm sure you're awesome and wonderful, but we wanna make sure that that's written by a real person because it's just it's awful. It's awful these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, the scams, I mean, just like in general, the scam market has just blown up, I feel like so much more because they've figured out how to use these AI systems to scam at a bigger volume. The amount of freaking phone calls I get every freaking day, it's insane. And so why wouldn't they target the arts? They're already scrubbing art to make other things. I know AI in the industry has been an issue, especially in nonfiction. I think in nonfiction, it's probably hit a little bit harder because people are just using it and not using it with their brain turned on. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah,
definitely. And then, like, we have too kinda thinking about scammy, like, marketing messages and emails is that we do have as well the stuff of marketing, people who say they're gonna help you market your book and, "Well, I saw,
yeah,
this reviews about your book," or blah, 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 blah. I mean, we've gotten so many of those for our podcast of people, like and you could tell it's all AI generated message and a snapshot of, like, our podcast thing, and, like, one of the emails that we got that I filtered through to promote our podcast, like, they mentioned something of, like, "Your podcast is so great about books, and we would love to support, like, promoting your ghostwritten book," and I'm like, Our podcast is not like we don't have a book for our podcast. We like none of this of what you said like makes any sense, and it's probably because they combed through, they saw both of our stuff when our names pulled up as ghostwriters and that like different
Mhm.
things, and so it just like did this amalgamation, and I'm like, "Oh my god, no, like block you a-hole, like get away from us." And I have
At least
like blocked and
proofread,
deleted so many
at
of
least.
those. Right, at least let's do a little bit of verification first,
Yeah,
right?
let's at least proofread our emails before we try and send them,
Yes,
even
so,
if
like,
you are
looking
a
into
scammer.
that. Yeah. But there's just so many marketing scams because marketing is a lot. It's a lot, and we've had some legit folks on the podcast who do work with authors in marketing, and we have some others that we wanna reach out
Yes.
to, and, like, there are legit folks out there. If you have someone who's very pushy, very aggressive, things like that, like, just no. You don't need any of that. You don't need that, and I think that leads to another interesting scam that I've seen a lot, which is a podcast scam, where you
Mm.
get invited, right? You get this beautiful flowery message to come onto somebody's podcast, and I actually received something too, and I didn't end up going on their podcast, and now I wonder if I had, if it would ended up something like this, because it was weird, because like the audience of the podcast wasn't even really quite right for what I do, but it was like that thing of we're like interviewing, women who have, had this huge change in their life and they're like doing their, a new business and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, so you get this email, invites you to come onto the podcast, and it may seem like everything's cool, everything's legit. You get in, you're recording an actual episode, but they never really send you a link to your episode or get your details. And then, they're just like, oh, yeah, your episode, like, it did totally great. Like, well, the numbers were fabulous. But if you pay us for this promotional package, we will push your podcast out to our larger audience, or, we'll do X, Y, and Z, and then the rainbow and some. And they just want to get your money. Like, you going on the podcast is huge for them.
Yeah.
They're gonna wanna promote that podcast because if they're promoting the podcast, then that's where they're getting more viewers, they could potentially be getting ad revenue, clients, things like that. Like, they should not be asking you to pay them to
Yeah.
market the episode that you're on for the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. That one's a big one. You had one that I had never heard of, the book club one? What was
Yes.
that one?
Yes. Alright, so this one was really interesting. I first heard about this one from, Ellie Alexander. She is a prolific, cozy mystery author. Absolutely adore her, taking a cozy mystery class that she teaches, and she has a new podcast, or not new, new to me that I'm listening to her podcast, and she talks all about author life. And a recent episode, she talked about book club scams, and I'm like, "What is this?" And she said it's happened multiple times to her and other authors that she knows. And they will get an email of someone saying, "Hey, I run I'm gonna go with Chubby Bunny because that's the card deck I have here. I run the Chubby Bunny, book club, and we're in Buffalo, New York, and we have like 1,000 members, and we just absolutely love, your cozy book series, and we want to feature you as our book club of the month for, June, and blah 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 blah." And so like all we need from you is like $300, and all of our members are going to buy your book. We're going to read your book, and then we're going to have you come and talk with us, and we're going to promote you on social media and do this and this and this and this. And yeah, no, like same thing. A book club is never going to ask you to pay them to be in their book club. They're
Yeah.
just gonna be over the moon if you will come talk at their book club. Like, they're like, "Holy
Right?
crap, we got the author." Yes.
Oh my gosh. That is so wild to me. Like, it's wild to me that like scammers think that works. It's just so like if I just think about this for 10 seconds, it's crazy. And it's sad that it probably has worked on people. And it's
Yeah.
like so heartbreaking that, people who are just out here just trying to make some art, trying to make their name, get their name out there, get their work out there and stuff are taken by these these people, because like, even that scam is just
Yeah.
like, because
Because you could be
that's
like,
what you
"What's
want. You want people
exciting?"
to be so excited to read your work. You want
And you
that.
could
Like, that
think
is,
that's
like,
like,
literally your
"If I
dream, which
invest
is probably
that."
why it works, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, like, I would think if I didn't know and I was newer, and I'd be like, "Alright, well, let me do the math." Because whenever I'm looking at, like, marketing costs, like, in marketing, we have, like, a loss leader where you may give something away for free, and you know you're gonna lose money, but you're doing it because 'cause you're gonna get money, hopefully, on the back end. You're hoping that will pay off. We saw that a lot, like, in the early days of Amazon where you would do, like, a book for free, like, a first book free, or you would do BookBub or something like that, and so, like, in my mind, I would almost think, "Ooh, this is a loss leader," because I'm gonna pay them, I'll make up a number, $200, and they have 1,000 people in their book club. Even if a quarter of those buy my book, like, I may be getting my money back, things like that, but, I'll get some promotional stuff. Or you may be thinking maybe it's like a book box, like a subscription box that they are pretending to have, and you're like, "Okay, well, maybe if I do that, then I'm gonna get all of this publicity." And so, like, that's worth it for me to get publicity,
yeah.
but they're not actually doing it. They're just a total scam, and they're just taking your money.
Which it's like the influencer market, and how, like, the
Mhm.
influencer market where they've had influencers just, like, show up at restaurants like, "Well, I have this many followers, and so all I have to do is just share your thing, and you'll have so much traffic coming in." It's just like, exposure doesn't pay the bills, babe. Like, your little Instagram post means nothing to me if I don't actually see some money, you know? And so, people for a little while, I don't know if it's still going on because I'm not very active on social, but people were really taking advantage of that. And so it's like people still using that social media following or all of this exposure credits that, that doesn't pay your light bill. And like, let's be honest, for a lot of authors, like, we're probably all working a job as well as our work, because it takes a lot of books being published to bring in a full-time income now,
Yeah.
unfortunately, for a lot of authors.
I think that is an awesome point of, like, the influencer thing because we just think about, like, Book Talk, and BookTube, and how, like, there's these people that are just influencers in the space and all of this stuff, and you may have someone who maybe is one of those people who's maybe not ethical, or someone impersonating one of these people that has, like, a inflated fake bot follower count, right?
Right.
And
Because
maybe
those
they're
still
like, "Hey."
exist.
They still yes, like, yeah, and we're gonna talk about, like, the
Mhm.
scams for, like, paying for reviews and things. So, right, like, if that kind of person reaches out and be like, "My goodness, they have 1,000,000 followers," and they're to, like, say, "Well, I'll promote your book even if you give me a nominal fee of, like, $100," whatever. Um, again, like, just because they have a big follower count doesn't mean jack squat. Like, we both come from a marketing background, and I worked at a company and we paid an influencer a lot of money, like probably a third of my salary when I was a director to promote our thing. And we like barely got anything back on return for it. And there's been instances of, if you look at like influencers who maybe they come out with a clothing line or a t-shirt, they do something and they sell like nothing. Because just because you have followers doesn't mean your followers are going to be converted into paid whatever. So, like, follower counts
Yeah,
in
because I think it's a
marketing
lot
is a
like,
vanity metric.
fatigue. Yeah, it's just like we have superhero fatigue for all the superhero movies. Like, we have influencer fatigue. Initially, oh my gosh, so and so loves this product. Oh my God, I have to see what. Initially, that's where we all were. And now everyone and their mother is that and is doing that and stuff. And so we're numb to it. It's no longer exciting and stuff. So even if it's like a person, like I have a couple of people that I really like and respect on social media. Even when they post things, I'm like, might look at it, but I can't say I've ever like really pulled the trigger on it. A couple of times with like book talk. Book talk sold
Mhm.
me on one book in particular, and I read it. I'm like, what in the actual fuck? And then I'm like, well, I don't trust your opinion anymore. you know? And so it's just
Yeah.
like, it's always with a grain of salt, because there's so many people doing influencing that are just saying things that get clicks. They're saying the right things to get, and it's not genuine. And I think a lot of us are realizing that it's not genuine and stuff. So, you know,
Yeah, I think that's a whole rabbit hole episode we could go down on Book
yeah,
Talk and
yeah,
BookTube with, like,
yeah.
especially
Ooh,
you see
let
these
us
people with
know if
all
you
of these
want.
things. Yeah.
Let us know if you want a book talk episode because I have a podcast that we could actually reach out to and see if they want to come on our podcast to talk about their podcast, which is all like a book talk podcast. So let us know if you
Yeah.
want that because I have somebody that we can reach out to work with on that.
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah, that's like a whole rabbit hole. I won't go down that rabbit hole. So, now that we've talked about, like, paying influencers, things like that, there's something that I feel like we could be tempted to do, even though
Mm,
we're like, "It's probably not the best thing," and that is paying for reviews. And you may not think of it as like, "Oh, I'm paying this person, like, all of this money to fabricate fake reviews," but you may have someone like, well, if you pay us, like, $5 a person, we have this collection of people, and we pay them, to review stuff that they've already purchased or like blah, 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 blah. You know, you pay us, we pay them, everybody's happy, and, they've technically have it. But paying for those reviews, number one, you might not even get the reviews. The reviews are probably going to be done by AI and not real people. But then they're also doing you a disservice because they're not going to be genuine reviews in terms of people who actually enjoyed your book and putting something out there to make people like your book. You want those genuine reviews. But if you're paying for them and the services find out, like Amazon finds out that you've paid for reviews, you could get your account locked, your book taken down. And then also just thinking about your readers, you could instantly lose their trust because then they're like, well, how many of their reviews are actually legit? So
right.
it's like dangerous in
I actually
multiple ways.
have that. I was reading a book. I don't remember which one it was. One of the two books that I very much disliked recently. And I was reading it and I'm like, this was recommended on Book Talk because the two that I just like was really upset about were both Book Talk books. And I'm like, this was really like talked about highly on Book Talk. So sorry, I'm just seeing my kid is home. But I'm like, am I being a picky person because I'm a author and a ghostwriter and this is like my big thing? Like, am I being one of those people? Am I being one of those people that my little like precision in the craft is getting in the way of enjoying the art? Like, is that's what happening? And I was looking at some of these reviews and I'm like, this is delusional. This is absolute. And then there was other ones that I'm like, yes, exactly. It was like, yeah, they had my same opinion, but they were written like genuine. They weren't written like a middle school cheerleader is pumping up their best friend, which I feel like is like, well, I can tell that was AI that made that review because it sounds like a 13-year-old cheerleader who's just like, oh my God, this is just such the best book ever. And blah, blah, blah. Like, it doesn't seem genuine. And they're like, 5 stars. It was amazing. I can't recommend it enough. All of these things and all these details. This character is this character is that, and da da da. Da. And I'm like, are we reading the same book? And these are like reviewers on Goodreads and stuff. I actually left Goodreads because I was tired of that bull. So I'm on Fable now. That's where I'm getting all of my book information
Ooh, I'm on
because it just
Storygraph
seems.
now.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one
Ooh, we'll have to
because
do a whole nother episode all about those too.
yeah. Yeah, because I'm like, so now I'm like, is this the author? Is this the publishing company doing this? Like, it's confusing because it just seemed so outside the reality of what that book was. One of them in
Yes.
particular. You know, it just so I lose trust. And it was like I was losing trust. I lost trust in Goodreads because of it. And also sometimes Goodreads is just harsh for no apparent reason. Like they just get mad.
Yeah.
And that was, anyways, I'm going to go off on a tangent again. Yeah. So paying for things. Also, when it comes to paying for things, I did want to mention on this episode about, sorry, I lost my train of thought. hybrid publishers, because there are some hybrid publishers that are really good. The reasons people might go for a hybrid publisher is because they want full creative control. They want all their royalties. They want the benefits of traditional publishing and self-publishing at the same time. And they have the initial capital to do that and stuff. So, like, that's what people go to hybrid publishers, because they want all of the support that a traditional one gives them, but all of the autonomy of self-publishing. And so there's some really great ones out there. We're actually going to have a really awesome one on the podcast very soon. But there's also some really, really shady ones that some of these scams will be like, oh, we're a hybrid publisher. And it's like, you're a freaking scam. I talked to one person who went through this hybrid publisher for her book, and she paid $9,000 to go through this hybrid publishing. And with this company, they published only on Amazon. She lost the rights to her book, and then they removed it off Amazon. Like, she signed off her rights to her book, and then they took it off Amazon. And so she didn't even make the money back. And she has a physical book still. Obviously, she wrote it and stuff, but everything was owned through this little hybrid publisher, but they only published it on Amazon. And I'm like,
Yeah, it's interesting.
that's
Yeah, some of these,
insane.
like, they'll take all your money and
It's
then they
insane
still
because you
want
could
to
have freaking
take
done that
your
yourself.
royalties. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think being sure that you understand what you're getting. Is it a vanity press? Is it a hybrid publisher? Is it a service that you're paying to help you publish it? Like the one that we're going to be talking with. They help you do all the stuff, but everything is yours when
Yes.
you're done, but they're doing all the pieces. There's just so many. And that was something too, that shady company that I worked for. They had an additional package on top of the ghostwriting package, which was already very expensive. If you paid an additional, and it was absurd, I think it was like $20,000. I don't know. It was a lot. Then they had a partnership with a publishing house, and you would get your book published under that publishing house's name and logo on your book because you paid for it. Like, I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, it was craziness. I don't even know. But yeah, so you have to be really careful about the different options when you are going with someone that is a hybrid publishing house. And I think too, like, that term can get confusing, like, even within the space, because you can be a hybrid published author, which may mean that you are independently published, but you also have books with a traditional publisher. And then you have hybrid publishers, which are kind of, they're publishing your book and they're retaining some of your royalties, or there might be other ones where, like, they're just helping you with the service. Like, there's just so many things, and you just have to be very careful and aware of what you are getting yourself into and what you are paying. Because if you're paying a publisher to help you publish your book, but they also want to take royalties from you, like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't feel like you should be paying a publisher who's going to be making money off of your book. Like, then,
Right.
right? Like, that doesn't sound right. So you just have to be so careful and look into stuff.
Right. Definitely, do your due diligence on it. You had a couple of websites to help people to do their due diligence on some of these things. Do you want to, like, say them out loud and
Yes.
we'll put them in the description?
For sure. So there's two really great websites. You can also go and look in author groups on, like, Facebook and things like that. Connect with other authors, ask them about their experiences. But two that I reference all the time is Writer Beware, and that's writerbeware.blog. That website is amazing. That they are completely 100% focused on writing and literary scams, and they
I
bring, like, different
totally
industry
went
news.
to them.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally went to them because I kept getting, like, this publishing group. I don't want to say their name. I don't know, maybe should I say their name? what is it? What are they called? Authors Unite, I think. They reached out to me like, "Hey, we saw you do ghostwriting. We saw you do. We were wondering if you wanted to partner with us because of this and this and this, and we published the." And I'm like, something about you gives me an ick. So I'm gonna Google you, and that was the website that I found them on Writers Beware to say like, no, avoid this company like the plague. And I'm like, okay, cool, cool, cool. And they kept reaching out to me. Completely forgot. I already told them to fuck off.
Yeah, writers beware or writer beware. I absolutely
Writer Beware.
adore that website. It is amazing. They have just a wealth of information. And then the other one that I haven't used myself, but I hear other authors like to go there is absolute right .com, and you have the Absolute Right water cooler, which is like their forum page. That to me is not very user friendly. Like, it kind of reminds me of like old school forums. If you like Reddit, you will probably like it. But I love the Writer Beware because it is set up like a blog. It is searchable very easily. Like, it's very pleasing on the eye. They've been around for a very long time and they're very trustworthy. So that would be like my number one. Go to Writer Beware. And then you can also check out the Absolute Right water cooler. And then your writers groups on Facebook are another great place to check and see people's experiences.
Yes. Yeah. Because, you know, writing, like we've said, is a very isolated journey. And you don't even realize how much you need other people sometimes until it's too late. And so having these writing groups that you're in not only helps you as a writer with your story craft, with your mindset, with, just the overall journey of being a writer, but it can also protect you from some of these unethical situations. Because, some of the situations are not illegal. Like, they're very legal. Some of these hybrid publishers that are really shady, like the one that I talked about, actually, the two stories I told you about people I know, like both of those are completely legal. But unfortunately, but
Immoral?
they're
Yeah.
scammy. They're
Yeah.
sleazy. They're unethical. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, exactly. So, we just want you to protect yourself, and we want you to be published, but we want you to be published the right way. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, we'll
Did you
put
have
those resources
any
in the
other
show notes.
fun facts to
I guess I will leave you with one more that is something interesting that I haven't really come across, but I saw it multiple times online when I was doing research. And as an editor, it breaks my heart. But there apparently is also scams that go on that people are being solicited by an editor wanting to edit their book. They send the editor their book, and then their book gets stolen and put up online underneath someone else's name. So I like it just I cringe thinking about that. Like it's awful. So like if you have basically anybody you don't know that is reaching out to you that wants you to send them your book, like you investigate them like you're the freaking FBI, CIA, like you have a joint task force and like it's national security time on your book because it's so easy to steal stuff these days. But I will say if you go to an editor's website, it is completely normal and acceptable, like, it's standard for editors to request a sample portion of your book to do a sample edit. That is totally the norm. I have had people before that freaked out because I wanted them to send me a couple thousand-word sample, and that's totally normal, because that's how we look at your book and are able to give you an accurate price quote because we can see how much time it's going to take us to edit it and then how much it's going to cost per word for your book.
Yeah,
But
I
if
was
you're
gonna
sending your
mention that.
complete
Remember
manuscript, be
that.
careful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And,
So yeah,
just
that's
like
kinda
with
I think my
everything,
last
this was
one.
yeah. I hope this was helpful. I hope that everyone's able to find the proper path to publishing. Do we have an episode about that yet? Like the three we have the right?
We have
The
from
three
season
main
1 with
paths to
Haley. Yeah, we had one, in
Okay.
season 1
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Haley. Yeah, I'll put a link to that in the show notes too if you guys wanna go back and listen to that one, and we kinda talk about
Yeah.
the different routes to publishing and what blah, 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 and what might be the best one for you depending on your situation and your goals.
Because you don't have to go to these scammy places in order to get your work out there. I know sometimes the imposter syndrome comes in and you think that this is the only way that your work is going to be out there. And maybe if they read it, then you'll be worthy of it. You're worthy of it now. You're worthy of being published in the way that is ideal for you now and stuff. You just have to find the right path and start believing in yourself. So that way these stupid scams cannot take advantage of you. That's my 2 cents.
Yes, and yes. I love that. And I think too this season we'll look to bring more people on that talk about this. Like if you want to go the indie route, right? Like we just had amazing people on about marketing. And I think it'd
Yeah.
be great if we can find someone to come on and talk about book cover design, like all the different aspects. We also just had a
Yeah.
wonderful episode about audiobook publishing. Like you can
Yeah.
do all of the things yourself. It just obviously everything costs money. If you don't want to pay any money, then you want to go your traditional route.
Yeah.
And you just want to go
And if
about
you're
it safely.
curious about the whole hybrid publish, because I know we talk a lot about like, be careful with hybrid publishing, be careful, there's a lot of scammy ones out there and stuff like that. If you're curious, we do have somebody coming up who is from a very ethical hybrid publisher that I work with that is really awesome. They help with all of the layers of things. They're also a much more reasonable price, in my opinion, for being one of the better for being one of the ethical ones and stuff. Their price I think is really reasonable. So we're going to have the founder on very soon to talk more detail about that, and I'm going to ask her as well if she has somebody that she recommends, because they have cover design artists that work for them, and so I'm going to see if maybe one of them we can connect with and get one of them on, because I think that the cover design conversation is so important and so undervalued, the impact of a cover, even in the digital space, where you're not like holding it and touching it, because I'm one who sit there and be like, nope, I don't like the feel of that book and I won't read it. But
Yes, for me, I
that
don't
might
like the
be my
smell of the paper. I have to
neurospice.
smell it. Yeah, I'm at the bookstore and I'm like, oh, that paper smells really icky. And I'm like, ooh. And like, I love the smell of like a good glossy one. Like, if it was like a textbook for school, like there were some good textbook smells of glossy books and some that just smelled like butt. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't read this book. Yeah, we're all a little
Rachel,
strange.
your
That's the
nerd
one thing
is
I miss
showing.
about my ebooks. Yeah, literally shove
Your
my face in a
your
book and smell
nerd
it.
is yeah, your nerd is showing. You were a straight A student in school, weren't you?
Oh, yes, yes. 4.0 valedictorian in my MFA program. Yeah, I was a little bit of a
Yeah,
nerd.
yeah. That's the most stereotypical nerd thing I've ever heard. Like that's like they wrote that into a script. I love that for you. I love that. But yeah, I've got that neurospicy like book cover thing where I'm like, I don't like the way it feels on my fingers. I can't buy it. I'll have to listen to this book.
Yeah.
So okay, this is a very neurospicy episode because we've gotten off on some tangents and gone all everywhere. So we're gonna wrap it up before we start on another conversation.
We hope you've enjoyed today and our interesting ramblings, as well as all the information about scams. So, yeah, don't get scammed and publish some awesome books.
Thank you for listening. Check out the show notes for details and links from the episode. And don't forget to subscribe and follow for more. Special thanks to our composer, Micah Silverstein. Enjoy the rest of the music.